Hi, and welcome to CryptoBiography. I'm your host, Brandon Starr, and we're going to be doing episode 74 today called Stringbottom. And if you have any comments or questions about this episode or previous episodes, cryptobiography@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter or Facebook. And here we go. Stringbottom. I don't know how it happened. One day, I was in a merchant's caravan, the sole entertainment for a very long overland journey. The next, well, one clear night, the caravan, some 10 wagons with at least as many guards riding horse at varying distances, was overcome by bandits. I'd rather not talk about the details. Let's just say there was a lot of blood. Like, a lot, really. I've seen a cleaner slaughterhouse. Well, several of them. All of them. My father was a butcher. Me, I was gifted with a good voice and an ability to play pretty much any instrument you push into my hands. My main ones are a lyre and a flute. The lyre because not every schmuck can pick one up and play it, and the flute because it sounds good and it travels well. On any long trip, especially one to a new city, I bring all my instruments along. The trick to providing music for long travels is to match the situation. When the roads are smooth and the wagons are moving quickly, play upbeat music. When things are more difficult or the sun is going down, slow down the music. When something really dangerous is going on, like a deep river crossing, stop playing. Just stop. Believe me, you don't want to be the reason someone couldn't hear an important order in a critical moment. I saw a musician make that mistake once. Mostly, I play the classics. I've written my own songs, but everyone loves the songs they already know. So lots of reels, lots of pastorals, lots of hymns, extra hymns on holy days. Generally, be really careful to play the right music when it comes to religion. You don't want to be 40 miles from civilization when the leader of your caravan decides you aren't being faithful enough and strands you. Another mistake I saw a fellow musician make. But really, overall, my job is simple. Play well, play often, keep everyone diverted. In return, I get paid, and I don't have to cook, guard, or lift heavy objects. Pretty nice. And I know lots of songs that aren't hard on my vocal cords or on my fingers or on my mouth, so I can do it all day long without strain. So, the worst thing that happened in my life happened, if only it stayed the worst. So yeah, after nightfall, the bandits came. Now, singing and playing may not seem like hard work to you, but do it all day like I do and see if you don't get tired. I sleep like the dead. And night watch isn't part of my duties, so I was in a dead sleep when they attacked. I was in a little makeshift tent that I made mainly by sleeping under one of the wagons. One moment I'm asleep, next thing I know, there's a bunch of shouting and several swords stuck in my face. It was my hat that saved me, my minstrel's hat, common and well known throughout the lands. That beret-like scrap of cloth, purchased for less than a day's tips, back when busking was my bread and butter, saved my life. "You a musician?" one of them asked. "I am," I said. "Good. Our last one made a funny joke, and he isn't with us no more," one of them said, laughing. "He's stuck to a stake, and he don't sing no more for his supper, but the buzzards sing to him for theirs." "I'd say they're probably all full by now," another one piped up. "So, would you like to sing for us?" the first one asked. I, of course, agreed. And so I went from one of my best jobs ever to one of my worst. Not my worst. That distinction goes to a particularly nasty cat house early in my career. A story for another time. The bandits were nasty and brutish, but not poor. They were successful at what they did, as they were several small bands who had joined up to make one giant band of bandits. They had managed to maintain a sort of balance without having just one leader. Still, their taste and their humor were as low as I expected. I had no fear at all of dying due to some clumsy joke or overly high-born song. What I had a great fear of was them deciding that I needed to die. It wouldn't take much. Maybe they hear the same song one too many times, or maybe they get to a city and decide it's best if I not try to escape. But at least I knew they won't find a better musician than me. That's just not possible. It was a couple of weeks on edge, wondering what would happen to me in the end, waiting for them to turn, to kill me, before it happened. The largest bandit gang located the largest treasure caravan, perhaps ever. The king's best men had found, looted, or otherwise gotten a lengthy train of wagons full of valuables and were heading home. Of course, that sort of treasure was guarded by dozens and dozens of the king's best armsmen. But after what must have been weeks on the road, they simply weren't prepared enough. Of course, they didn't have me along on the raid. Instead, they had me guarded by Pitch, a slovenly, stinking member of their tribe. I don't know how he got the name, but it wasn't from striking the right musical notes. Probably because his skin was sticky. In any case, halfway through the night, the bandits came back with whole carts of loot. They set some guards around and decided to wait out the night and see what they had gotten in the morning. They weren't afraid that the king's army might catch up with them. I can only imagine there were no survivors. The morning came, and they went through the wagons. Remarkably, almost everything was worth keeping. They truly had hit the mother lode of criminal scores. Eventually, one of them came across a musical instrument. It was found by Big Tom, one of the bandits who I knew enjoyed my music. That was probably what gave him the bright idea of giving it to me. Big Tom brought it to me and thrust it out. "Yours," he said. I took it. It was a lute, beautifully made, polished, and inlaid mother of pearl. It was the best musical instrument I had ever touched. I plucked one of the strings experimentally. It sounded a lovely, clear note. But inside my head, I heard a voice. "Whether panpipes, harp, or shepherd's flute, no instrument more beautiful than Stringbottom the lute." Stringbottom? I thought. Stringbottom, I heard in my head. "Are you a musician?" "I am," I replied, again in my head. This is very weird, I thought. "You'll get used to it," the voice, presumably Stringbottom, said back. "You're not my last player. What happened to him?" "I don't know exactly," I replied. "You were taken by some bandits and given to me." "And are you a bandit?" Stringbottom inquired. "No, I was captured by them, and they make me play for them," I replied. "Too bad," Stringbottom said. "It would have been easier for you if you had been." "Why?" I asked. "I am a cursed instrument," the lute said. "In what way are you cursed?" I asked, dreading the answer. "You'll see," it replied. It was then that Pitch told Jacktooth, one of their leaders, that I had been given the lute. "Hey, that's not yours," Jacktooth shouted at me. "Tough dung for you, ugly," a voice said. It was me, and yet not me. "Time to take out the fiddle player," Jacktooth said, stepping towards me. The other bandits turned and came towards me. They had become successful by following the whims of their leaders without question. "This isn't a fiddle," Not Quite Me said. "It's a lute, the finest lute ever made, and I'll prove it before you kill me." I started playing, and it was as easy as if I had played it since the day I was born. My fingers danced across the strings. The bandits stopped and started to stare at me, mesmerized. The music swelled, they started to sway. Then, with small popping noises, blood started to run out of their ears. They collapsed, one and all, into heaps. I became a wealthy man that day. Not from taking the treasure. No, rather I led the king's men to the dead bandits. They gave me a good handsome reward for returning the treasure and for killing the most dangerous bandit gang the land had ever seen. I even got to keep Stringbottom, though I'm not sure what would have happened if they had tried to take it away. I think that somehow Stringbottom helped convince them that it was now mine. And that was the start of my troubles. And that's the story for this week. I'm kind of liking this story. I'm not sure if I want to continue it now. It's definitely something I could come back to. I do like the idea of sort of like lighthearted, or at least semi-lighthearted, fantasy story. But I'm not sure exactly what story I want to tell in this sort of setting. But I had fun doing this little vignette this time, and I hope you enjoyed it. So, CryptoBiography@gmail.com if you have any comments or questions, or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll see you next week. Copyright 2018, CryptoBiography, LLC, all rights reserved.